get into this FTC stuff. So, as y'all know, Microsoft is, God damn it, Microsoft is in court fighting the FTC. Oh shit, where am I? They are in court fighting the FTC to acquire Activision. Now, we talked about this on Saturday. I uploaded that video to Atreus Plays today. A little bit late because I ain't gonna lie to you. I forgot about the Saturday stream. But yesterday we had a couple of revelations, okay? Bombshell email from Matt Booty revealed exactly what I said. He said their goal is to spin Sony PlayStation out of business. Look at this this email. It says, this is from Matt Booty, okay? A lot to digest here. We'll read it in detail. A different view to a different view to the general view below might be that we, Microsoft, are in a very unique position to be able to go spin Sony out of business. If we think that video game content matters in 10 years, we might look back and say totally would have been worth it to lose $2 billion or $3 billion in 2020 to avoid a situation where Tencent, Google, and Amazon, or even Sony, have become the Disney of games and own most of the valuable content. For example, it is practically impossible for anyone to start a new video game streaming service at a scale this point. What content do you base it on? Things like Hulu and CBS All Access will be trivial players in the space. In games, Google is 3 or 4 years away from being able to have a studio up and running. Amazon has shown no ability to execute on game content. Content is the one moat that we have in terms of a catalog that runs on current devices and compatibility to create new. Sony is really the only other player who would compete with Game Pass, and we have a 2-year and 10 million sub lead. If we reverse course on day and date, it's going to be hard to convince folks that things like Mixer or xCloud have much of a chance surviving scrutiny either. This was 2019. Now, I want to comment on this first, because your boy Jim Ryan did a pre-recorded, interview, because he took the stand. For people who keep telling you that there is no such thing as a console war, there is no console war. They are capping. They are capping. The console war is real. These companies are trying to put each other in the dirt. You got all of these liberal people in the games industry trying to tell you, oh, there's no console war. They're all holding hands and singing Kumbaya and blah, 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 blah. Shut up! Shut up! There is absolutely positively a console war. They are trying to win. Do not let these people confuse you. Now, Xbox has done a good job of coming out, trying to appear like the good guys. Oh, we're so good. We're not trying to compete with the other guys. We're just trying to carve our own niche. Lies! You can't fool me. I know how business works. At least Sony was being upfront about it. We don't give a fuck about being friends with Microsoft. We're not under y'all Twitter talking about congratulations on a successful show. Congratulations on a great launch. We're not trying to appear. Fuck out of here. You the ops. We trying to put you in the dirt. But let these folks tell you, they don't care about console wars. I'm not saying that you should be on Twitter fanboying for your favorite plastic box. I'm not saying that, because I'm gonna be honest with you. Console warriors strike me as a little bit weird sometimes, because they seem deranged and part of a cult. However, I won't lie to you and tell you that the console wars don't exist. They absolutely positively do exist. These companies are at each other's throats. So stop it. Get some help. Stop telling people there's no console war, because there is. There absolutely is. Words of Paradise says, I'll be that guy. I felt like Xbox were the bad guys ever since the OG Xbox. They just jumped in when Sony, Nintendo, and Sega owned the gaming space, when really they're a computer company who makes PowerPoint software. Why the fuck would they care about gamers? Uh that's an interesting point. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I don't know, because I feel like with a software company there's nerds. And with nerds, at least it used to be primarily nerds who probably play video games. And if I heard the story correct, there was a team that had to convince uh uh um those at the top that video games were worth it, and that's how they got into uh that's how they got into video games. That's how they made the Xbox. I don't as far as why they would give a fuck about gamers. I mean, that depends on who's running the company. Now, I would argue uh that it all is, it's just like with the woke ideology thing, right? There are people absolutely in Hollywood who care about the fans, who want, but it's all about who you hire and who, like, we all, and this is our fault. We all like to talk about these things as if it's like one monolith that's running everything. When in reality, there's like agendas being fought everywhere. And the problem is they're all fighting with one another. Who's winning? We don't know. So when Don Matrick was head of Xbox, you could definitely argue he didn't give a shit about gamers. When you tell people, yeah, if you don't like the product, go and get an Xbox 360. Yeah, nigga, you probably don't care about gamers. Because gamers are asking you for something and you pretty much told them to go fuck yourself. That's pretty much what you told them. Uh Dragon Slayer says, I think it all started because of Doom and the build engine. And then Words of Paradise says, alrighty, fair rebuttal. I can see that. You're making your boy think. I can respect it. Yeah, I mean, I think absolutely there's people at Microsoft who probably don't care about gamers. But I think Phil Spencer is a guy who is a game. This is why I've always had respect for Phil Spencer. I think he's a guy that likes games. I think he plays games genuinely. I mean, we know Elon plays games. He was playing Elder Ring. So just because you're a CEO doesn't mean that you don't play games. But I think he had to convince. I think Phil Spencer had to convince Satya Nadella that games were worth putting all of your effort into. You can make an argument that Satya Nadella probably doesn't care about games, but he's been convinced that business-wise, it could make sense. Words of Paradise says Elon started off as a programmer for Sega at 15 years old. I did not know that. So there you go. That fool. No wonder that explains it. He definitely carries it, and he's a gangster too. I be telling y'all, Elon, and don't get it fooled. Elon Musk he's a toxic gangster. You know what I'm saying? Sleeping with his best friend girl and stuff. Like, what you got going on? He's toxic as hell. But anyway, so yeah. So I just wanted to bring that up because stop letting people tell you there's no console war, okay? It's not. Now, should I play? Let's see. Fuck it. We'll just go to Jay Wood. Shout out to Jay Wood. We'll just play his video. Cause he's watching the case or something.
Okay,
Uh
so once
we're
again,
not gonna watch
just
this
like
whole
last week.
thing. We're not gonna watch this whole thing, but I just want to give you a general idea of what he got going on. We'll even speed it up a little bit because I don't.
This video is going to focus on day 3 for the FTC versus Microsoft Activision Blizzard case. This is really such an expansive and just complex topic with so much to go over, and because I know most people can't listen to the trial themselves, I want to give everybody the highlights and just kind of get everybody caught up. It's just that there's so much to go over here, but as always, I'll try to keep things as tight and concise as possible. I will respect your time. What I will say here, though, is that today was another very strong showing for Microsoft, and I'm going to explain all of the reasons as to why. Now, there's really 3 major things that took place today. PlayStation boss Jim Ryan, he was pressed in a video. Then the FTC, they brought their star witness, or one of their star witnesses being their expert economist. And then Judge Corley. She was once again the star of the show. For somebody that's not a gamer, she is brilliantly putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and she directly countered the FTC.
By the way, shout out to Jaywood 2010. Okay. I really like his channel. Subscribe to him if you like gaming content and stuff like that. So I posted Reed says I posted the links again in your Discord. Yeah, we're gonna get to the Discord stuff.
Several of their claims, significantly, which has built their entire case around cloud gaming. So more so, both Jim Ryan and now Google, these are some of their key witnesses for cloud gaming, and they've now both gone on the record to say they don't believe cloud gaming is a separate market than consoles. I mean, we all knew this already. I don't think there's really some big surprise here, but it is kind of hilarious that both of their key witnesses absolutely dismantled their very own case. The last big argument for the FTC, though, is defining the game market. They want to define Xbox and PlayStation as their own market, quote-unquote, the high-end console market. Now, the reason for this is because this would basically exclude the 10-year contract that Microsoft signed with Nintendo. That's not good for the FTC's case because Call of Duty would be available to even more gamers post-acquisition. That's very pro-consumer.
So to kind of like compartmentalize what he just said there, and I see the video skipped forward ahead. It's so annoying. Let me go back. Basically, he's saying that the FTC's entire argument hinges on convincing the jury and the judge, or I'm sorry, just the judge, because I don't think there's a jury in this situation, but convincing them that Nintendo is not in competition with PlayStation and Sony. They're trying to convince the judge that it's only Microsoft and Sony in it, so that if Microsoft gets an edge, they have a big edge on Sony and make it look like a monopoly. But we know that's not the case. And there's emails and comments made by Jim Ryan that contradict that. So
but what he said he's concerned about is that Xbox will use Activision and Call of Duty to drive PlayStation consumers to studios in the past to make their games exclusive, such as Bethesda as an example. And the FTC has really tried to paint them as a villain for doing something like this. So this is something that they once again tried to hammer home today, that exclusives are important to platform holders, which honestly I think is pretty evident. We all know this. We can all agree with that. That, however, does not mean that Call of Duty will be exclusive, as has been pointed out time and time again. And Jim Ryan, well, from how he was wording things today, he didn't seem to be all that concerned about exclusivity when it comes to the Activision Blizzard acquisition. Instead, though, what his testimony really kind of told us is that his true fear lies within Xbox Game Pass. While being asked about Bethesda exclusivity, he said that he doesn't like that Starfield and Redfall are exclusive to Xbox, but he doesn't view them as anti-competitive. He thinks those are okay, so we must be somewhat aware that, yeah, they make a lot of exclusives themselves, so it would be kind of hypocritical to say that. But what he said he's concerned about is that Xbox will use Activision and Call of Duty to drive PlayStation consumers to Xbox Game Pass. He claims that this would be bad for PlayStation fans, but I want to ask you all this. How is this bad for consumers? He claims that this would be bad for PlayStation fans, but is it really? Or is it just bad for Sony's business model? Because they don't want another option that competes with their $70 games. Because, you know, it kind of seems like that might be what he's alluding to here, and this is something that Judge Corley is starting to catch on to as well. Remember earlier I said that she is starting to piece together the puzzle, and as part of their next witness statements, she actually suggested that Xbox Game Pass is debatably good for customers as it is an extra choice. So, I mean, okay, you can kind of take...
So it's, you know, obviously this judge is very aware of what's going on. That was one of my fears. When it comes to the rest of the world regulating the video game industry, you kind of fear that because so many people like are not gamers, that they like kind of regulate this thing from an outsider standpoint. But it seems that this judge is very tentative. She understands the gaming industry a little bit, or she's at least getting some sort of understanding. And so that's good, because the last thing you want is somebody who don't give a shit about gaming. And not that she does give a shit, but the last thing you want is somebody who don't give a shit, don't care what happens, judging this from either point of view, right? You don't want somebody just coming in and saying you guys are fucking video games. Who cares? Just give it to Microsoft, or who cares? Just give it to Sony, or whatever the case may be. You don't want that. You want somebody who understands what's going on and understands the ramifications of both situations and handles it accordingly, and not just out here winging it.
Something, he just would not answer what he felt like not answering. Very evasive, which that was kind of a theme for the FTC today. Now, another big focal point to this acquisition has been the nascent cloud market and the possibility that Microsoft may or may not have a monopoly in this market if this acquisition were to go through, the possibility that they could make Activision content exclusive to their cloud-based service. Well, old Jimbo was asked about this as well because Sony's had they've had game streaming for an even longer period of time than Xbox. They've had PlayStation Now up and running since 2014, so they were asked about this, and he did not like this question at all. He flat out refused to acknowledge that they've had cloud streaming since 2014. He kept pointing to PlayStation Plus Premium, which essentially absorbed the PlayStation Now service and its cloud streaming content. So he was adamant that they've only been in the cloud streaming market for a few years because of that, which is factually and historically wrong. I don't even understand why he needs to lie about something like this, because it kind of destroys his credibility in court. But I mean, he stuck by this statement to really the very end. Interestingly enough, though, he did admit that his words, nobody can predict the growth and success for cloud gaming. Now, that might not necessarily be as devastating to the FTC's case because they do have other arguments to center on. I mean, it doesn't really help them either, but this does hurt the CMA quite significantly, which has built their entire case around cloud gaming. So, more so, both Jim Ryan and now Google, these are some of their key witnesses for cloud gaming, and they've now both gone on the record to say they don't believe cloud gaming is a separate market than consoles. I mean, we all knew this.
The cloud gaming stuff is garbage. I mean, not garbage. Let me not say that. It's just it ain't what they thought it was gonna be. They thought it was gonna be the future, and it failed. Ask Google Stadia, okay? Ask Google Stadia. So that's probably as much as we're gonna watch. Y'all get the point. Jim Ryan got up. Well, he wasn't on stage, I guess, but his pre-recorded interview. He was very evasive, and he kind of ruined a lot of the FTC's arguments. I mean, it's I think this is a clear and shut case. I mean, but I've been wrong. I thought, again, there's been plenty of trials that I thought was very clear cut, and I've been wrong on. But I think that Microsoft at the end of the day is going to prevail and get Activision. Now, what they do with Activision, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. After spending $70 on Diablo, I'll be pissed if I fuck around and they get Activision like next month, and then they fuck around and say, "Congratulations, Diablo on Game Pass." I'll be pissed off, bro. I'll be pissed off. Reed says, if you do not understand the lifestyle of the gaming world, then your choices can and will ruin a game company. Just look at what the left has done with the game ratings. Games made for kids are mostly played by adults, and adult games are mostly played by kids underage. Words of Paradise says, if the games don't fit, you must acquit. OJ did it again. What you mean OJ did it again? Okay. So, I mean, hey, listen. Everybody knows I'm an Xbox fan. I'm an Xbox. I have all the platforms except for I don't have a Steam Deck. But now that I'm playing Diablo, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'll be at work thinking about Diablo like a motherfucker. I ain't gonna lie to you. I might have to I might have to cop me a Steam Deck, y'all. But I'm not gonna do that until we become, a little bit profitable over here. But I want to see Xbox succeed. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, but I really just want to see good games though. And I believe that Activision is going to be better if they are owned by Microsoft. Because the way I look at it is that you no longer have this pressure to be financially, like, obviously you want to make money, but you no longer have this pressure to be financially viable, to make these profits or whatnot, because you're financially backed by $1 trillion company. So you can just focus on making good games as opposed to, hey, let's, microtransactions and all of this stuff. And that's what I look forward to. And I think, pay attention to Starfield. I think Starfield will be a good indicator on whether how true that is, because I would bet any amount of money that if we would have got Starfield while Bethesda and ZeniMax were still independent, it would not look as good or be as good as it might be when it drops. Because that game, I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm not into Bethesda games like that, but that game looked like it's going to be a fucking monster when it drops. It just looks like it's going to be a monster of a game when it drops. So, you know, hey, uh, we'll see though. We will see.
Let's go, let's go. Hey, hey. Beat that thing down like you started.